I'm Emma. My story isn't one of those fairy tales you hear about, but it's mine, and I've lived every bit of it. My life's been a mix of love, betrayal, and coming out on top when everyone else thought I'd be down for the count. From the jump, me and Mike, we were kind of the high school sweethearts you'd hear about but never really believe existed. He was all about football, the kind of guy who lived for the Friday night lights, and I was more the behind-the-scenes type, hanging with the girls' support group, cheering him on from the sidelines. "Hey, Emma," he'd shout across the hallway, with that grin plastered on his face. "Catch the game on Saturday?" And I'd roll my eyes, play it cool. "Maybe, if I've got nothing better to do," I'd shout back, but we both knew I wouldn't miss it for the world. Mike's folks, they were gems, treating me like I was one of their own. "We can't wait for you two to make it official," his mom would say every time I'd come over, her eyes all twinkling with the thought of us walking down the aisle. My folks were on board too, always had Mike's back, inviting him over for dinner, asking about his games, his life. It was all pretty cozy. Except, there was a bit of a snag in this picture-perfect setup, my sister, Sarah. For years my junior and totally smitten with Mike. It wasn't like she was subtle about it either. But instead of brushing it off, I felt bad for her. Lily and we had a complex thing going. She was my sister, and I loved her, but there was this tension, a rivalry that never seemed to go away. "He's just so perfect, Emma. How do you do it?" she'd ask, her voice a mix of admiration and envy. I tried to keep it light. "Oh, come on, Lily. There's plenty of fish in the sea. Mike's not the only guy out there." But she'd just huff, "Easy for you to say. He's head over heels for you." I tried to be there for her, but Mike, well, he didn't handle it as kindly. He'd laugh it off, make some snarky comment that'd just light a fuse between us. "Come on, Mike, cut her some slack," I'd tell him after he'd made another dig at Sarah's expense. "What? Can't she take a joke?" he'd shoot back, all defensive, like he didn't get why it was a big deal. This one time, Sarah turned 16, and at her birthday party, with everyone there, she made this wish out loud: "I wish to marry Mike." And then she blew out her candles like it was the most natural thing in the world to say. The room went dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Mike just coughed awkwardly, while I felt my face go hot with embarrassment and anger. That moment kind of broke something between me and Sarah. We didn't talk for a long while after that. The tension it caused, it was like a thick fog you couldn't see through. It wasn't just the wish, though. It was Mike's reaction, the way he laughed it off later when we were alone. Did you see her face? She really thought she had a chance. I couldn't wrap my head around how he couldn't see the hurt he was causing. "It's not funny, Mike. She's my sister. You can't just mock her feelings like that." "Ah, come on, Em. She'll get over it. They always do," he said, brushing it off like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing to me. This whole mess, it was a wake-up call in a way. Made me see the cracks in what I thought was a solid foundation. Looking back, I guess it was the start of understanding that love, it's complicated, messy, and sometimes, it pits you against the people you want to protect the most. The day I married Mike should have been the happiest of my life, and it was, mostly. But there was this undercurrent, a tension you could cut with a knife, all thanks to one person, my sister, Lily. As the wedding day approached, everyone was on a high. Mike's parents were over the moon, constantly fussing over the smallest details. "Emma, dear, you're going to be the most beautiful bride," Mike's mom would say, her eyes sparkling with tears of joy. And Dad, well, he was just Dad, trying to keep a tight lid on his emotions, but failing miserably. "I'm not going to cry. I'm not," he'd mutter, only to be caught wiping his eyes when he thought no one was looking. My folks were just as excited. Mom was all about the dress. "You look like an angel, Emma. Mike won't know what hit him when he sees you walking down that aisle." And Dad, ever the joker: "Better make sure that boy knows how lucky he is, or he'll have me to answer to." But Lily, she was a different story. Since that birthday wish fiasco, things had been tense between us. We barely spoke, and when we did, it was like navigating a minefield. The closer the wedding got, the frostier she became. On the day, as I was getting ready, Lily walked into the room. I hadn't expected her to say anything, but she surprised me. "Emma, can we talk?" Her voice was low, almost hesitant. I turned, keeping my emotions in check. "Sure, Lily. What's up?" She fiddled with the hem of her dress, avoiding my eyes. "Look, I know I've been difficult. And what I said at my birthday, it was stupid. I'm sorry, okay?" I sighed, the weight of the past few months heavy on my shoulders. "Lily, it's my wedding day. Can we not do this now?" "No, we're doing this. I need to say it. I was jealous, alright? I've always been. But seeing you now, so happy and beautiful, it's hard not to feel like the biggest jerk." Her words caught me off guard. It was the most honest I'd heard her in years. "Thanks, Lily. I just wish you could have realized that earlier, before all the drama." "Yeah, well, better late than never, right?" She managed a small smile, the first genuine one in a long time. The rest of the day passed in a blur. The ceremony was beautiful, everyone said so. Mike looked dashing, and when he saw me, his reaction was everything I'd hoped for. "God, Em, you're breathtaking," he whispered as I joined him at the altar. The reception was a hit, the music, the dancing, the laughter. It was perfect, except for the moments I caught Lily looking our way, her expression a mix of regret and something else I couldn't quite place. At one point, Mike leaned in. "Your sister, she's been staring all night. You think she's okay?" I glanced at Lily, then back at Mike. "Let's just enjoy our night, okay? Whatever's going on with Lily, it can wait." Life after the wedding was like waking up from a dream, the kind where everything's perfect, only to find reality waiting for you with a sledgehammer. Me and Mike, we were living the dream, or so I thought. Then came the kids, Joey and Ellie, our little bundles of joy and sleepless nights. It wasn't long before the cracks began to show. Money was tight, turns out love doesn't pay the bills. Mike started working extra shifts at the mall, coming home late, more exhausted and less like the guy I married. One evening, after a particularly rough day with the kids screaming nonstop and the washing machine breaking down, Mike walked in, looking like he'd been through the ringer. I was at my wit's end, covered in baby food and desperation. "Mike, thank God you're home. Can you take Ellie? She's been crying nonstop, and Joey's making a mess in the living room." Mike barely glanced my way, a grunt his only reply as he slumped onto the couch, shoes still on. That's when I lost it. "Mike, did you hear me? I need help here." He looked up, annoyance flashing in his eyes. "What do you want from me, Em? I've been on my feet all day. Can't I catch a break for 5 minutes?" "A break?" I was incredulous, gesturing to the chaos around us. "You think I've been on vacation here? This is 24/7, Mike. The kids need you. I need you." Mike stood up, his voice rising. "And what about what I need? A little peace, maybe? Not to come home to this circus every night?" The word circus hung between us, a grenade that had just gone off, leaving us staring at each other across the battlefield our home had become. "Is that what your family is to you? A circus?" My voice was a whisper, but the hurt must have been evident. Mike ran a hand through his hair, the fight going out of him. "No, Em, that's not what I meant. I'm just tired. We're both tired." But it wasn't just about being tired, was it? Things had changed, and we were drifting apart, each day a little more. The love was there, buried under layers of exhaustion and unspoken resentments, but it was getting harder to find. We patched things up, because that's what you do when you love someone, right? But those patches felt more like band-aids on a dam about to burst. Conversations about money, the kids, and how we were living became the norm. Mike's solution was to escape, to find solace at the bottom of a bottle or in the laughter of strangers at a bar. The quarrels got more frequent, nastier. We'd go at it over anything, the bills, the endless nights of crying children. And then, Mike started not coming home. The first time it happened, I told myself he'd crashed at a friend's. But then it became a pattern. Night after night, he'd disappear, only to stumble in at dawn, reeking of alcohol, with that look in his eyes. The look that said he was somewhere else, with someone else, in his mind. It tore at me. Every time he left, it was like he took a piece of us with him, a piece we'd never get back. The man I married, the one I thought I'd spend my life laughing and growing old with, was slipping through my fingers. And the worst part? I didn't know how to stop it, how to pull him back. The morning everything fell apart was like any other, except for the deafening silence that greeted me as I woke. Mike's side of the bed was cold. I checked every room, but he was gone. His clothes, his shoes, even his toothbrush, all vanished. My heart sank. This wasn't like the other nights. I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. "Mike, where are you? Please, come home," I pleaded into the phone, my voice breaking. There was no answer, just the mocking beep signaling the end of my message. Frustrated and scared, I called my folks, voice shaky. "Mom, Dad, Mike's gone. His stuff's gone. Have you seen him?" There was a heavy pause before Dad's voice, usually so full of life, came through quiet and strained. "Honey, we haven't seen him. But there's more. Lily's missing too." My heart stopped. This couldn't be happening. What? Missing? Both of them? The room spun as I tried to process his words. Before I could gather my thoughts, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Lily. My hands trembled as I read her words, a bizarre mix of emojis and cold, hard betrayal. She and Mike were in love, she said. They'd left together. He didn't love me or our kids anymore. I stared at the screen, numb. This was a nightmare, a cruel joke. My sister, my husband, how could they do this to us? To me? The shock was palpable, a physical weight that pressed down on me. I called my parents back, voice a whisper. Lily sent me a message. They're together. She and Mike. There was silence on the line, a silence filled with shared disbelief and heartbreak. Then Mom, her voice breaking. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I have no words." Dad chimed in, his usual calm demeanor shattered. "We're here for you, Emma. No matter what, we're here." Their words were a small comfort in the tsunami of betrayal that had just hit me. Mike and Lily had not only left me, but had chosen to do so in the most cowardly way possible. But through it all, there was a silver lining, my parents and Mike's. They stood by me like pillars, refusing to let me face this storm alone. Their support was unwavering, a constant in the chaos that had become my life. "We've got your back, Emma. Always," Dad said during one of our many late-night calls, his voice a steady force in the midst of my turmoil. And Mary, Mike's mom, became my rock. "He's made his choice, and so have we. You and the kids are our priority, Emma. We're family, through and through." Filing for divorce and stepping into the role of a single mom wasn't something I ever pictured for myself. Finding Mike to get any child support was like chasing a ghost, he was nowhere to be found. Those days were rough. Money was tight, and I leaned heavily on my folks and Mike's parents more than I'd have liked to admit. One evening, we were all sitting around the kitchen table at my in-laws, a kind of makeshift family council we'd come to rely on. That's when Mike's dad, who'd always had a knack for cutting straight to the heart of things, laid his cards on the table. "I've got some savings put aside," he said, his voice steady and serious. 120 grand. It's yours, for the kids." I was floored. That kind of generosity was overwhelming. "I can't accept that," I insisted, but the look in his eyes told me he wasn't about to take no for an answer. But then an idea sparked in my mind. What if we used that money to start something? Something that could benefit all of us? I was thinking aloud, my brain ticking over. Mike's mom, Mary, had always been a wizard in the kitchen. Her pastries were the stuff of legend. "How about a pastry shop?" I ventured. "Mary, you could lead the kitchen. I can handle the books, and we could have your dad oversee the business side of things." There was a pause as they mulled it over. Mary looked excited at the prospect, her eyes lighting up. "I'd love that," she said, the idea of getting back into her passion clearly appealing to her. "But," Mike's dad interjected, "if we're doing this, we do it right. I'll be the director in name, but the business, the ownership, it's yours, Emma." I couldn't help but smile at the proposition. "Deal," I said, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness at the adventure we were about to embark on. The road wasn't easy. Starting a business from scratch, especially a bakery, was fraught with challenges. There were days when I doubted everything, when the balance sheets looked more like obituaries for our dreams than anything promising. But I kept at it, pouring everything I had into making it work. Mary's pastries became as famous citywide as they were in our family gatherings, and before we knew it, what started as a single shop grew into several branches across the city. It was hard, grueling work, but bit by bit, our little bakery carved out a name for itself. Through it all, I stayed in the background, happy to let Mike's dad take the limelight as the face of the business. To the world, I was just the accountant, the woman crunching numbers behind the scenes. But in truth, I was the owner, the one calling the shots. We had turned a dream into a thriving reality, our confectionaries a staple in the city. I became a wealthy woman, not just in terms of money, but in the wealth of experience, the strength of family, and the sweet taste of success against all odds. One lazy Sunday afternoon, as I was balancing the books and relishing in the quiet hum of productivity, my phone pinged with a notification that made my heart skip a beat. It was a message from Lily. My stomach churned as I opened it, half hoping it was a mistake. But there it was, a message filled with emojis and a nonchalance that belied the depth of the betrayal. "Hey sis, guess who? Just thought I'd check in and show you how amazing life is on this side. Mike and I are living the dream. Bet you're still stuck in your little world, playing safe. Toodles. Kiss mark." The audacity of it left me reeling. The wounds she and Mike inflicted were deep, and here she was, poking them with a stick, flaunting her so-called blissful life in my face. I stared at the message, 1,000 retorts running through my mind, but in the end, I chose silence. Engaging with her would only drag me back into the mire I'd worked so hard to climb out of. But Lily wasn't done. She kept sending messages, each more taunting than the last. It was like she was trying to erase her own guilt by diminishing my achievements. Then, Mike joined the fray, sending me a friend request on social media along with a message that was like a slap across the face. "Hey Emma, long time no see. Just wanted to see how you're holding up without me. Must be tough raising the kids all on your own. Don't worry, Lily and I are having a blast. Take care." I couldn't believe the nerve of him, after everything he'd done, to mock my struggles and parade his betrayal as some sort of victory. I wanted to scream, to lash out and tell them both how wrong they were, how their selfishness had only made me stronger, made us stronger. But I knew that's exactly what they wanted, a reaction, any sign that their words had hit their mark. So, I did the one thing that felt right. I blocked them. No messages, no friend requests, nothing. It was the digital equivalent of slamming the door in their faces, and it felt good, liberating even. After a couple of weeks of eerie quiet, Lily started her old tricks again, bombarding me with messages. This time, she was flaunting her lavish lifestyle, sending me photos of her and Mike posing in front of expensive cars and at fancy resorts. I tried to ignore her, blocking each new account she popped up with, but then things took a nastier turn. Lily and Mike began leaving venomous reviews on our bakery's page, trashing the pastries and saying they were tasteless and made without talent. Reading those words felt like a punch to the gut. Not just because it was my bakery, but because they were indirectly slinging mud at Mary, my mother-in-law, whose baking was the heart and soul of our business. Fuming, I went to my in-laws to tell them what was happening. I found them in the living room, sitting down for a quiet evening. "You won't believe what Lily and Mike are up to now," I said, unable to hide my anger. When I showed them the reviews, Mike's dad, who'd always been the calm and steady type, lost it. That's it. They've gone too far this time, he barked, his fists clenched tight. Mary, ever the peacemaker, laid a hand on his arm. Now, let's think this through. There's a better way to handle this, she said, her voice soothing, but with a steely edge I hadn't heard before. That's when she came up with a plan that sounded just crazy enough to work. Emma, dear, why don't you tell Lily that we're planning to announce our will soon? Let's see how she and that no-good husband of hers react to that. I was taken aback by the suggestion. You mean, trick them into thinking they're getting something? Mary nodded, a mischievous glint in her eye. Exactly. If they're so interested in our business, let's give them something to really talk about. It felt risky, but after everything that had happened, a part of me was itching for some kind of payback. All right, I'll do it. Let's see how they like being on the receiving end for a change. I sent the message to Lily, telling her about the supposed will announcement. The part of me that still cared for my sister felt a twinge of guilt, but it was quickly overshadowed by the thought of finally getting back at them for all the pain they'd caused. Now all we had to do was wait and see how the prodigal sister and her husband would respond to the bait. Would they come crawling back, thinking they were about to inherit a piece of the bakery that had become my life's work? The thought gave me a sense of anticipation I hadn't felt in a long time. I read the message, a bitter smile spreading across my face. Get ready, Lily. You and Mike are about to find out what happens when you mess with family. As the day of their return drew closer, I felt a mix of nerves and excitement. This was more than just a confrontation, it was a chance to finally close a painful chapter of my life. And I was ready, come what may. The day they came back felt like stepping into a twisted reunion. Lily and Mike pulled up in a car that screamed money they didn't have, their clothes just as loud. They strolled into my in-laws' house as if they owned the place, arrogance dripping from every pore. Mike didn't even glance at his kids, my babies who'd grown up so much since he'd last seen them. Instead, he went straight for the kill. I hear there's a will in the works. Time to hand over the bakery, don't you think? His voice was all smug entitlement. I couldn't help but smile, the irony too rich to ignore. You running a bakery? Please. You wouldn't know a pastry from a pie unless it hit you in the face. That got under his skin. He snapped. Once I'm in charge, you're out. First order of business. And then my father-in-law, bless his heart, dropped the bomb. You? Running the bakery? Son, you're looking at the real owner. This whole business belongs to Emma, down to the last penny, he said, pointing at me. The shock on Mike and Lily's faces was almost comical. But I thought. Lily started, her voice trailing off as the reality sank in. Well, you thought wrong. My mother-in-law chimed in, her voice steady but firm. Everything we have is going to Emma and the kids. You too? You've got nothing coming. Lily's meltdown was epic. Tears, accusations, the whole 9 yards. We need that money. Everything we have is maxed out. The car, the clothes, it's all on credit. And then, in a move that should have surprised no one, Mike showed his true colors. Turning to me with eyes full of nothing but greed, he said, Emma, babe, I made a mistake. I'll dump her and come back. We can be a family again. The silence that followed was deafening. Lily exploded, calling him every name in the book, while I just watched, the sadness in my heart making way for something else, relief. My in-laws didn't waste any time. Get out, was all my father-in-law had to say, his voice cold as ice. They left, a storm of hurt and betrayal in their wake, but the house felt lighter somehow, as if their leaving had lifted a curse. The next day, my phone rang. It was my folks, letting me know Lily had shown up at their doorstep, begging for money. They turned her away, just like we had. Enough is enough, they said. And they were right. Sitting there, phone in hand, I couldn't help but reflect on the whole sordid saga. From love to betrayal to this, victory, if you could call it that. I realized that what I'd won wasn't just a battle over money or a bakery. I'd reclaimed my life, my dignity, I'd shown my kids the value of standing up for oneself, of not caving under pressure or manipulation.